occupies 25% of the entire engagement time. And the reason I say 25% is that 75% should be left to, and when it comes to softer elements of behavioral learning, it's a very, very big challenge. Hi, today's video is about that one topic that keeps haunting learning and development professionals. How do I ensure that there is ROI from training? Is there any way of measuring it? And the good old Kirkpatrick's theory. So a whole lot around that. Basically, I'd like to start by saying learning measurements can be monitored if there is somebody accountable to track observations. When it comes to hard skills, you can measure them because you have a technical cursor moving from where it is post-training to what they learn and what they seem to be doing. But when it comes to softer elements of behavioral learning, it's a very, very big challenge. My name is Pramod Parkar, and today's video is about measuring training effectiveness. Well, if you look at one fundamental truth, the learner himself is not alone in the behavioral change game. And when I say that, what I mean is that the people who he works with, upwards and downwards, his peers and his vendors, his internal relationships and his external relationships, all of those play up when he or she try to apply learning at the workplace. So here's what you can do. One, when there's a program designed, a lot of times people have this thought, will a classroom learning work? Will a team building event work? Will peer-to-peer learning work? Will online courses work? And I hear things like people say, oh, we've just created a budget and let people go on to online learning and do self-learning for all the fundamentals. Well, then you're on the line of hope. And if that's what you're okay with, never mind the small money it costs, it could be a waste. If you are doing behavioral training, then let me tell you what works well and what we at Edify do. So there is a pre-learning phase where the learner is somebody who's a little confused or maybe unsure or uncertain why he or she are getting involved in this learning intervention or training program. So pre-program, if you can address preparation mentally and stimulation and motivation to want to mentally do something about an attractive development event, intervention, training program, and prepare the individual to come ready to learn. So great pre-reads, extremely interactive quizzes, some peer-to-peer exercise, and before the person comes, there is an engagement in the mind on the subject or topic, and they're looking forward to the learning session. They say that getting a buy-in from the learner. I hear a lot of people talk about getting a buy-in from the trainer. You don't need to market the trainer or professional. He or she's already established their credentials. What you need to ensure you do is prepare the adult to come to the class wanting to learn. That's the first step. So pre-program, prepare the learner. Step 2, when you actually build this intervention, for example, if it's a classroom training program and it's a behavioral development program, ensure that the content that you bring at best occupies 25% of the entire engagement time. And the reason I say 25% is that 75% should be left to adults wanting to engage and do something with the 25% in that intervention itself. If you look at the earlier video and you look at the Honey Mumford 4 learning styles adults have, you'll realize that you need a lot of engagement and experience in the classroom. We hear people often saying, trainers should have a little more role plays. A lot of role plays will learn. Well, maybe the activist will learn. Maybe the reflector will learn. The theorist will say, listen, let me take this theory back and study it a little more. So, a good intervention or a good training or learning session would ensure that this content is created and designed and packaged in a way where all the adult learning styles engage with it and take a meaningful plan forward with whatever they have understood during that learning journey. So during the program, make the interaction not just interactive when people say, make a very interactive, highly engaging intervention. That is technically a little shallow, pardon my words. What I mean is, make your program interactive to address the 4 adult learners. Engage facilitators and trainers who understand these dimensions professionally well so that they can use this framework. That's the second part. The third part is that if you look at the famous forgetting curve, on one front it says how much you shared and how much is retained. So the retention in number of days, very famously joked about is that whatever you teach adults in 48 hours, they come down to possibly near to nothing in their memory. Well, it's a little deeper than that. The learning curve and the forgetting curve. The forgetting curve says that if you had a good learning curve and an exercise, then over a span of 31 days, which is one practical month post the engagement, adults will retain 10%. So therefore, what do? To ensure learning effectiveness and ROI is in place. Post the program, make the adult responsible for his learning. So it's one of the 10 commandments of learning and development. Make the adult learner responsible for his learning. Now this is easier said than done, which means the third dimension is post the program, you need some meaningful project tasks, some meaningful engagement tasks, which can connect to the 4 adult learning types. 1, and number 2, don't make that a lonely journey. This individual is not alone responsible for the change. You need other people who he interacts with to be made accountable. For example, his manager or leader. So 2 things that you can do. 1 is you create a lovely framework where the manager or leader is given an awareness session about what the individuals learned. And therefore, what can you hope that they start doing? And there's a good observation framework, which means that you have a feedback session from people who they reported to help the individual recall his learning and look at the commitment to his accountability he promised himself. The second, make peer-to-peer learning the way of life at work. They say that adults learn best from their peer interactions. So whatever you're doing, make that learning meaningful in some peer-to-peer exercises. Could be adults coaching each other. Could be they have very, very good brainstorming sessions. Could be they have a peer-to-peer project task. Could be they're conducting interviews within the organization and bringing back feedback. And of course, the manager using his observations or her observations to give very good constructive feedback. If you can do this across the journey of beyond the 31 days, then you'll possibly beat the forgetting curve. And maybe you'll find people starting to imply what they learn, make it applicable, and start doing things at work. Yes, there is an ROI, provided you have tracked it and you're able to measure it. So whatever gets monitored can get measured. Whatever gets measured can be used for change. Here I am signing off. And I urge you to click on the link and continue learning at Edify with all the interactive videos we've made. All the best.